It's easier to deal with potential odors and things like that than during the summer.
The old cemetery of Immerat was displaced to make way for a coal mine. A delicate mission Ongar Lurveg supervised for local authorities. It took 4 years to exhume all the dead and rebury them.
Relocating a cemetery is different from moving houses or rebuilding a school. The emotional attachment people have to a cemetery is particular because it's related to death and memories, and for a lot of people, that's not easy.
A dozen kilometers from the new cemetery lies the old village. These days, there's hardly a soul. The houses have been torn down or simply abandoned. The dead have been relocated, and so have the living. 1,200 residents from this village, the original Immerat, have been resettled, leaving behind a ghost town. Pretty soon, it too will disappear, wiped off the map by bulldozers from the neighboring coal mine. They've already destroyed the town's 19th century church. It took 3 years to build and just 2 days to tear down in early 2018. Werner Rombach was the local priest. Overlooking the rubble, he still has trouble talking about it.
It hurt. I really had to fight my emotions. No priest likes to see their church get destroyed. It made me really sad and angry. Those who destroy culture destroy people. When you treat culture this way, it means that you also treat people poorly.
Mark was also there when the church came down. He wanted to keep a physical trace.
It's a souvenir. Some people get tattoos of meaningless things. Mine depicts the home I lost.
He's back in the village with a former neighbor. Mark and Jorg have very different feelings about the resettlement process.
It's sad losing your home, leaving this old idyllic town. But there's no point in being angry at the company or the regional government. In general, the compensation payments were quite high if you were able to negotiate well with the coal company.
I've accepted it, but I have to live with it. Only time is going to heal the wounds.
This is the reason why villages are being destroyed and people are being displaced. Lignite, often called brown coal. It's one of the cheapest sources of electricity from fossil fuels and also one of the dirtiest. Now, Germany is the world's leading producer in lignite, and here in the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, the lands are rich in brown coal. It's extracted from open-cast mines like the massive Garzweiler mine behind me. As you can see, the size is dizzying. People in the region call it the Hole. Spanning some 30 square kilometers, Garzweiler is one of the biggest mines in Europe. Massive space is needed because brown coal is found on the surface, not in the depths of the earth. Garzweiler is one of 3 mines operated by German energy giant RWE in the region. In North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany's most populous state, extending the mine means displacing people. What do you say to people who are sad and upset about having to be moved from their homes?
Firstly, we compensate people for their properties. People, families, firms, municipalities. The compensations are fair and generous and enough for people to secure their economic standard.
So would you say that in the short run, Germany has no other option, no choice, but to continue using lignite?
Yes. Germany will continue using lignite and natural gas for a couple of decades to come. Unfortunately, renewables, as yet, are not able to grant that security of supply, and this is why we need fossil sources. So in the interests kind of are balanced. People are being dealt with. they receive compensations, they are not ignored or overrun, and on the other hand, we have a possibility to grant security of supply of energy for a high-developed industry like Germany's.
So, compensation for the common good. Hundreds of millions of euros have been spent, though the exact figure is unknown. Open-cast mining is a touchy subject in Germany. Officially, the country is in the middle of an energy transition, out with nuclear energy, in with renewables. During the first half of 2017, Germany broke all green records by generating 35% of its energy from solar, hydro, and wind power. But this thirst for clean energy doesn't mean that Germany has kicked its addiction to coal, which remains the first source of power, 40%. Lignite alone accounts for 1/4 of the country's electricity. But brown coal produces a lot more CO2 than classic hard coal. And Germany has abandoned its promise to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2020.
When you build up renewables, it doesn't mean that you can just get rid of coal very easily, because there are times where there's no wind, no sun, and then you need a stable capacity, and this is currently being served by lignite. So that is reason one. The second reason is a social reason. There are many employees working in the mining sector. I think it's several thousand people. It is one of the most important economic factor, and you cannot just remove those mines without not caring for those people who currently work in the mining sector.
Strategic choices at the national level have a direct impact on the lives of everyday Germans. For the Garzweiler mine, the plan has been laid out until 2045.
In the past couple of years, about 35,000 people have been relocated. 24 new villages created and 30,000 hectares of land taken away.
Margaret is in charge of overseeing a vast regional resettlement program. She's the intermediary between RWE, the government, and locals. She has experience in the matter. She was once the mayor of the village that was wiped off the map.
The process has been examined and validated by authorities multiple times. So, of course, this is legal. Otherwise, it would never happen in Germany.
Mining laws from the 1980s provide the legal basis for the displacements. In the region, 11 villages are in the process of being emptied, 5,500 people displaced. Kayenberg is next on the list, which means Norbert's farm will soon disappear.
This is our farm, which is owned by us since 60 years. It was built in 1863, and it's a typical farm for this River Rhine area. This is home. This is a very special place. I know every stone here and every space there's a special story.
For years, Norbert has been negotiating tooth and nail for his compensation. For his 8,000 square meter farmhouse, RWE is offering him 2,000. Meanwhile, bulldozers are on the edge of his property, ready to get started.
This view, it's unreal. I would like to show my grandchildren where I was from, but I cannot. So this is very sad to us, because for us it's too late. My family will move and will go in another place somewhere and dream about the old times. It's like David and Goliath. What I can do is what I'm doing now, to tell the people outside what's happening in the middle of Germany, a well-developed country. It's one of the greatest, the biggest environment polluter in Europe.
Norbert and his family have to be gone by 2021. In the village, the exodus has already begun. About 100 people have moved out. Norbert says they've given up hope.
This is the village store, if you want, it was for 70 or 80 years, where all the people from the village bought their food and cheese and vegetables. And it was closed last year because yeah, they moved. And so the last store, we just have one bakery left and one butcher.
Just like in Immerat, the church in Keienberg will be torn down. Few locals have put up a legal fight. Some even rejoice in the opportunity to start a new life with their compensation money. But not everyone has given up. A few kilometers away, there's another mine, Hambach, and a 12,000-year-old forest. 90% has been destroyed over the past 40 years. Environmental activists are hell-bent on saving the remaining 10%, even if it means physically occupying the trees come rain or shine.
Even if it's not working, I would say, like, come on, if there's some shit happening in your country, then you have to do something, you have to act, otherwise it wouldn't change. When I was a child, I asked my grandmother, like, what she was doing during the fascism, and I listened to their stories, like, and I was proud that my family did something.
Between resistance and resignation, the debate over lignite mining continues to rage on. Does Germany have a post-brown coal future? How can it move on from such a cheap and abundant source of energy?
The government says it wants to phase out coal. In 2019, it will set a timeline, but it could take some 20 years. In the meantime, German lignite mines continue to operate at full steam with carte blanche from authorities.